Part 40. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 391. Zhangzai has the mark of the ancient god, and he can enter the first god realm by himself. The Lord of the Beast God sent him to the door and left. This is the place that everyone in the origin continent dreams of. It is the world closest to the ancient god. I didn't expect that I could enter it at my age. It is said that even the 5 great palace masters can only enter once a month, and the stay time is within 3 days. The Lord of the Beast God led the way and left. Zhangzai entered the first god realm through a small door. It was a simple wooden door, which opened with a creak. It was pitch black inside, as if there was a barrier separating it. Zhangzai easily passed through the barrier. During this time, the mark of the ancient god trembled, and he came to the first god realm. After passing through the barrier, it suddenly became clear, as if there was another world in front of him. When Zhangzai just came in, the strongest feeling was the miraculous vitality of heaven and earth. Looking around, the surrounding space was filled with milk-like mist, moist and thick, making the whole space turn milky white and very pure. At first he thought it was just thick fog, but the next moment he found that the milky white fog was actually the condensation of heaven and earth energy. In the outside world, those invisible and intangible heaven and earth energy are actually thick and misty. Here Zhangzai took a deep breath and felt a large amount of heaven and earth energy and heaven and earth spirit energy pouring into his body, and he felt refreshed for a while. No wonder it is said that the effect of practicing in the Xuanhuan domain for 3 days can be compared with a month outside. The practice conditions here are much better than the top floor of the Beast God Tower. Zhangzai was curious and moved forward in this milky white fog. The vision here was very obstructed, so he couldn't see far away. What is this? After moving forward for a while, he felt a figure in front of him. He thought it was Xuanhuan waiting for him. After getting closer, he found that it was a statue of a beast. The statue was full of carved totem patterns, lifelike, like a living person. Zhangzai saw that it was actually a statue of a god. There was such a statue in the Beast God Temple, but it was a smaller version in front of him. Continuing forward, Zhangzai realized that the entire Xuanhuan domain was full of statues. Although those statues were not big, they looked like real people, and even had the feeling of their eyes moving. Although this was a sacred place, Zhangzai still felt creepy after looking at these statues for a while. He continued to move forward. The scope of Xuanhuan domain was not large, and it was not a maze. Soon Zhangzai saw light in front of him. He quickly stepped forward and passed through the increasingly dense group of statues. Suddenly, he saw a sun and a full moon in this Xuanhuan domain. On the left was a burning sun, which looked even bigger and hotter than the sun formed by the 5 sun talismans in the Wuxian battlefield, making it impossible for people to get close. On the right was a blue moon, with a cool breath, and the cold airflow also made people uncomfortable. Getting closer, Zhangzai saw that there was a temple under the scorching sun and the blue moon. The hall is not big, but it is very exquisite. There are plagues on both sides. On the left side, under the scorching sun, is the Sun Temple, and on the right side, under the blue moon, is the Xuanhuan Temple. Obviously, the 2 sect masters are in these 2 temples. However, the Sun Chushen on the left has never appeared, so Zhangzai naturally did not dare to disturb him rashly. I should go to Xuanhuan Temple and find Xuanhuan Chushen. He took a deep breath, braved the coldness of the blue moon, endured the danger of being frozen into a statue, and quickly broke through the thick heaven and earth vitality, rushed to the door of Xuanhuan Temple, and knocked on the door gently, saying, "Chushen, Zhangzai is here, can I go in?" Before he finished speaking, the door of Xuanhuan Temple had already opened. It was very empty inside, without any furnishings, and there was still thick white fog everywhere. Zhangzai hurried in, and the door closed automatically. After he entered, he did not move around randomly. After a while, a figure appeared in front of him. It was Xianyin Chushen. Her clothes today were a bit casual, she only wore a snow-white robe, which was very tight and outlined her graceful figure. Her long hair fell like a waterfall, and her eyes were blue, like two blue moons. In this milky white mist, her skin looked even whiter, and it was completely integrated with the surroundings, so delicate that it could be blown away. She didn't know how many years she had lived, but looking at her appearance, she looked like a woman in her 20s, more mature and charming than little girls, but more youthful and beautiful than mothers, and she looked at the most perfect age. Her appearance was so stunning that if he didn't know her identity and generation, Zhang Zizai might have imagined it, but now facing this grandmother's grandmother level ancestor, he was naturally very honest and didn't dare to look at it too much. Sit down. She appeared in front of Zhang Zizai with a full fragrance, her blue eyes flashed, her voice was very soft, but there was an irresistible majesty. Zhang Zizai obeyed the order. After sitting cross-legged, she stood behind Zhang Zizai, looked down at the back of his head, and asked, "Do you have a gathering god seal method?" Yes, Zhang Zizai nodded. I just got the 9 Heavens Divine Beast Candle Dragon secret technique last night. I have a universe-level gathering god seal method, which the Beast God Palace Master has practiced before. Do you choose your own or mine? Xuanhuan Chushan said. The level of the skills is the same as the totem. The cosmic level skills are the top skills between heaven and earth. I'd better use my own method of gathering the divine seal, which is easier. Zhang Zizai didn't hesitate in his heart, but for the sake of safety, he still pretended to be hesitant. Okay, no problem. Prepare the gathering divine seal. Her style of doing things was simple and straightforward, and it seemed that there was no nonsense at all, and she didn't influence Zhang Zizai's decision. As soon as Zhang Zizai came in, she directly helped him sprint to the divine seal realm. At this time, a soft jade hand was placed on the top of Zhang Zizai's head, and bursts of fragrance came from behind. Hold your breath and concentrate, she said. Zhang Zizai followed the instructions and began to recall the 9 Heavens Divine Beast Candle Dragon secret technique. Xuanhuan Chushan obviously wanted to help him, and now he immediately condensed the first divine seal. I will help you resonate the totem, and you seize the opportunity to use your natal totem as a guide to condense the totem divine seal on the totem C. Okay. Both of them were simple and straightforward, and extremely efficient. Zhang Zizai was careless, but in front of the Xuanhuan Chushan, he was always very serious. Buzz. A force suddenly surged into his body, and unknowingly, he entered the totem sea and found Zhang Zizai's natal totem. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 392. Seize the opportunity, her voice echoed in his ears. Zhang Zizai didn't know how she did it, but it greatly shortened his cultivation process. The most difficult part of the first concentrated divine seal was to communicate with the natal totem and let its projection appear on the totem sea. But when she began to help, a shadow of a black dragon instantly appeared on his totem sea. It was Zhang Zizai's devouring heaven demon dragon totem. Although it was just a projection, after it appeared, the entire totem sea was instantly turned upside down. The devouring heaven demon dragon's true energy and the power of the sun, moon, and star holy dragon rolled wildly, as if a terrible storm had been set off in the sea. The storm swept the projection of the devouring heaven demon dragon totem, and the entire vortex revolved around it. Concentrated divine seal. After receiving the order from the Xuanhuan Chushan, Zhang Zizai was very relaxed. The most difficult level had been handled by her. He was infinitely close to the divine seal realm. At this time, he only needed to use the 9 Heavens Divine Beast Candle Dragon secret technique to create the totem divine seal directly in the shadow of the devouring heaven demon dragon totem. The first level of this technique is to create the deer god seal. In the secret technique of the 9 Heavens Divine Beasts along, deer horns are fire. Zhang Zizai gathered the overwhelming power of the Totem Sea and condensed it at the dragon horn position of the totem. Countless forces gathered in it and began to condense into a pair of deer horns burning with black flames. Deer horns are also dragon horns. This process lasted for more than a day. During this process, countless heaven and earth energy entered Zhang Zizai's body, gathered in his true energy and holy body power, and then transformed into the constantly condensed flame deer horns. If it were still in this first God domain, there would be no need to consider the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. It is simply endless here and can burst Zhang Zizai at any time. It is precisely because of the support of such a vast heaven and earth energy that he condensed the first level of the God Seal at an unprecedented speed, and there is also the protection of Xuanhuan. The whole process went smoothly. After one day, the deer God Seal of the flame deer horns was completely formed, and the first level of the Totem God Seal was completed. Within the Totem God Seal, countless heaven-devouring demon dragon chi and the power of the sun, moon, and star saint body merged together to forge a new Totem God Seal power. The Totem God Seal stored vast power and was also a new transformation center. The original Totem Sea was born entirely to support the Totem God Seal. Zhang Zizai's power level was also unprecedentedly strong. In the end, the phantom of the heaven-devouring demon dragon totem had disappeared, and the flame deer horns were suspended in the center of the Totem Sea, burning wildly, and the Totem God Seal power inside was burning with black flames. After reaching the God Seal realm, Zhang Zizai's fundamental power level had been greatly enhanced. Next, it took another day to stabilize the realm, consolidate the first level of the God Seal, and absorb a large amount of heaven and earth spiritual energy for transformation. In a blink of an eye, there was only half a day left to stay in this initial God realm. After finishing, Zhang Zizai opened his eyes and stood up. The Xuanhuan stood in front of him, looking at him with a cold face. Sometimes I really don't know what her expression is. Next, Zhang Zizai still has to see how she orders. I'll give you a battle tactic. She took out a white jade book and handed it to Zhang Zizai. Zhang Zizai took it and found that the white jade book was heavy, but there were very few words on it. The cover read Eternal Divine Fist. Chushan, what level of battle tactic is this? Zhang Zizai asked. Because he took a glance and felt that it was too mysterious and a little difficult to understand. No level. Zhang Zizai was stunned. The battle tactic was divided into Kinkan, sun, moon, and stars. How could there be no level? After reaching the Divine Seal realm, it is safer to practice the sun level battle tactic. She said, the Eternal Divine Fist is performed by the ancient God Seal, and no one else can use it. The lethality of this battle tactic depends not only on your own strength, but also on your accumulated strength, your fighting spirit, and your faith and loyalty to God. The more the ancient God Seal in your hand shines, the more powerful the Eternal Divine Fist will be. Zhang Zizai was confused. There was such a battle tactic in the world. He looked at the ancient God Seal in his hand, which was temporarily dim. It seems that I don't understand this ancient God Seal at all, he said secretly in his heart. He remembered that the more the ancient God Seal shines, the more terrifying the Eternal Divine Fist will be. This is a completely different battle tactic from ordinary battle tactic, and it cannot be measured by ordinary battle tactic. If you have enough faith and belief, the Eternal Divine Fist will be of great use within 10 years. Today, she has been helping him break through to the Divine Seal realm and has given him the Eternal Divine Fist. Zhang Zizai is grateful and said quickly, thank you for the cultivation of the first God. It's good that you understand my expectations of you. Compared with Yishan, I am more optimistic about you. In the future, you need to keep your heart and stabilize your state of mind. You must remember that I want to train you as the leader of the divine section. The first divine domain needs fresh blood. Xuanhuan first God narrowed his blue eyes slightly. Such straightforward words, coming from her mouth, Zhang Zizai still felt flattered. He knew very well that since she said this, She was not afraid that Zhang Zizai would be arrogant. If he was arrogant and presumptuous, he would eventually lose the opportunity, and he would be sad. So in her words, there were 8 words: keep your heart and stabilize your state of mind. It's just that Zhang Zizai was a little dazed. In the future, would he really be able to stand at the pinnacle of the entire origin continent, become a first god like Xuanhuan first god, have a lifespan of hundreds of years, be revered by countless people, and be able to communicate with real ancient gods? It felt like a dream. Facing her instructions, Zhang Zizai nodded seriously. I used to be the ancient goddess, the first god of the sun, the one who guided me at the beginning. 500 years ago, I was the one who sat here and broke through the divine seal realm. Therefore, your inner choice in the future is more important than your talent. Zhang Zizai was a little shocked. He didn't expect that she was once an ancient goddess. He thought that the 2 first gods were from the same era, but it turned out that there was a sequence relationship. Inner choice is more important than talent. This sentence seemed a bit mysterious. Zhang Zizai couldn't quite understand it, but he still remembered it. It's almost time this month. Go back and review more. Come here on the first day of February. I want to see you use the Eternal Divine Fist. Otherwise, I won't use it again in the future. It's really strict. Zhang Zizai nodded. He didn't remember to leave because he had more important things, so when Xuanhuan Chushan was about to open the door to let him out, he said, Chushan, I want to know if there is a way to break the divine curse. Xuanhuan Chushan looked at him coldly. Such a look made Zhang Zizai a little uneasy, as if she had already guessed that she would ask this question. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 393. For Zhang Zizai, the breakthrough in the Divine Seal realm and the Eternal Divine Fist were not as important as this matter. So after asking, he will definitely not regret it. Even if Xuanhuan Chushan's eyes were colder, his attitude would not change. After about 10 breaths of silence, the first god Xuanhuan said coldly, the divine curse is a punishment from the ancient gods. There is no way to resolve it in the mortal world. To resolve it is to compete with gods, but how can mortals have the ability to compete with gods? Competing strength and courage. Her words were a complete sentence of death for the 9 immortals. Zhang Zizai discovered that he seemed to have really overestimated the cursor. The punishment of the ancient gods cannot be broken by mortals. It cannot be broken. Zhang Zizai lowered his head slightly and clenched his fists. It seems that you have the intention to rebel against the gods. Take a closer look to see if your ancient god's mark is darkened. Xuanhuan, the first god, said in a deep voice. Zhang Zizai opened his palm, and sure enough he saw the ancient god's mark on his left hand, which was now extremely gray. Ancient god, are you watching everything? Zhang Zizai was once very grateful to the ancient god, because it was the pillar of origin that saved him from the fate of a waste. Until he came to Shenzong and learned about the cursor, his betrayal. The heart of God keeps growing. The ancient god's mark will reflect your heart. How do you feel? How can you escape the eyes of the ancient god? You can't even think of exerting the power of the eternal god's fist. I asked you to leave the cursor long ago. It's you. She said she can make you stronger, but I think she might make you doomed. Her tone was calm, but what she said shocked Zhang Zizai, because she seemed to know everything. However, even if he is doomed, Zhang Zizai's heart cannot change at all. Seeing that Zhang Zizai didn't answer, her eyes softened and she asked, you are young, so you shouldn't be obsessed with beauty. The world is cruel, beauties will turn into bones. Only by becoming a god can you be eternal. Zhang Zizai took a deep breath. His thoughts were a little confused now, but he knew very well that this was not an obsession with beauty at all. What the 9 immortals brought to him was not just these, but the meaning of Zhang Zizai's existence. That's all. You are still young and care about love and righteousness. I can understand that. After all, her time is running out. In the remaining time, try not to leave any regrets. Thank you. Zhang Zizai thought for a moment. From the perspective of the first god of Xuanhuan, it was already pretty good that she could understand him. After all, she is a loyal supporter of the ancient gods, and Zhang Zizai is the successor she wants to train. It is already a kindness of hers not to forcefully separate him from the god curse. Zhang Zizai found that he was a little naive. He actually wanted to get the solution to the divine curse from her. Wouldn't that be going against the ancient god? First god, I'll retreat first. Zhang Zizai was a little upset after losing his last hope. He handed it over and walked back, ready to leave. Wait! Seeing the disappointment in his eyes, Xuanhuan Chushan shouted, making Zhang Zizai turn around. There was another book in her hand. It was a book carved from black jade. There isn't much text either. This is the rebirth art. It cannot break the divine curse, but it may allow her to extend her life for a while. It may not be effective, but it may also last for 1 or 2 years. This is the only way I can give it to you, but I have a request. Zhang Zizai was a little surprised. To him, this was great news. Although it may not be effective, it may be able to extend his life for 1 or 2 years. In these 2 years, he can think of other ways. Please tell me, Zhang Zizai said gratefully. He found that the first god Xuanhuan really valued him. Otherwise, how could he give him something like the secret of rebirth that could extend the life of the 9 immortals? She will leave eventually. After she leaves, you must completely correct your heart and never talk about love again until you become the first god. If she really left, Zhang Zizai would definitely not have the heart to get together with anyone else. If she left, the only thing left in his world would be to become stronger, so he could agree to this condition instantly. After he nodded solemnly, Chu Shen threw the rebirth art to him and said, "Let's go." Zhang Zizai thanked him again and again, holding the secret of rebirth in his hand. He couldn't wait to hand over the secret of rebirth to the 9 immortals. Any extra time he could gain was precious. He didn't see that after he left, Xuanhuan Chushan stood for a long time and suddenly smiled. She has never shown her smile in front of outsiders. The secret of rebirth became Zhang Zizai's life-saving straw. When he took back the top of the Beast God Tower and handed it to the 9 immortals, even she was in disbelief. The first god of Xuanhuan would actually give you such a thing, 9 immortals asked in surprise. With conditions. What conditions? It was a bit difficult for Zhang Zizai to say it because the condition was established after the death of the 9 immortals, but after her hard work, he still said it. That's just right. I'm also worried that after I die, you'll be messing around with women. Even if I become a ghost, you'll still be mine. I'll let you be a monk for the rest of your life, Juxian said with a smile. She was really in a good mood, even though she was almost dead, she could still talk and laugh. Don't be so cruel, it's not fair to my little brother, Zhang Zizai smiled. It's unfair. During this period, isn't it too happy to miss the good times? Then I have to take the opportunity to let it enjoy all the glory and wealth in this life. Ah, you bastard, it's daytime now, well. As the 9 immortals gasped softly, the Beast God Tower entered into a trembling rhythm again. The son of the ancient god, you won't let anyone live anymore. I don't know how many people are yelling and cursing below. This chapter is not finished yet. Please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content below. For Zhang Zizai, only with hope can there be a direction to work hard, and his fighting spirit is rekindled in his heart. He believes that Juxian, with the rebirth secret, she will definitely be able to fight against fate. While Zhang Zizai continues to practice, draw talismans, and cultivate his soul, he also puts a lot of thought on the eternal divine fist. This is indeed a wonderful battle tactic. It is said that it is related to faith and one's own beliefs. The strength of spiritual will make the eternal divine fist more powerful. The ancient god mark seems to absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, and the amount of spiritual energy in it also determines the power of the eternal divine fist. This battle tactic cannot be used frequently, but it seems to be hidden and used as a fatal blow, which is absolutely beyond the opponent's expectations. Of course, he has no opponents among his peers in the entire Shen zone, even many priests in their 20s are not his opponents. Especially after reaching the Divine Seal realm. In the next month, his eternal divine fist made great progress. In 10 days, he was able to perform it. The specific power depends on the state. Sometimes it is not as good as Tianlongpaku, but sometimes it can burst out with more terrible lethality than Tianlongpaku. It was close to February. Although there was progress in the practice of Juxian's rebirth art, it seemed that nothing had changed, because Juxian's long hair had a lot of white hair. She even saw it when she looked in the mirror. One morning, she secretly wiped away tears while dressing. Zhang Zizai hugged her from behind, his eyes were a little ferocious. At that moment, the ancient god mark on his hand almost dimmed into black. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 394. Although there is no effect for the time being, we must continue to work hard. Xuanhuan Chushan is the supreme existence of this origin continent. She said that there is no other way except the Rebirth Sutra, so there should be no other way. Zhang Zizai did not run around like a headless fly, but put his hope on the Rebirth Sutra. His cultivation process still maintained a high-speed progress. Yishan seems to have started retreating after returning. It's a pity that it's difficult to surpass me again. This day was close to February. Zhang Zizai's talisman paper and talisman ink were used up, so he left the Beast God Tower and went to the Fubao Pavilion in Bailitianja. Drawing the Avasai Hell talisman, it is better to use more advanced materials. Of course, the spirit stones on his body have been used up long ago. As a totem talisman master, the thing he lacks the least is money. When he arrived at Bailitianja, seeing that it was the ancient son of God who showed up, everyone was envious and in awe. Basically, they greeted him, but did not dare to approach. Previous opponents, such as Xianya and Qiyu, would avoid Zhang Zizai when they heard from afar that Zhang Zizai was coming. When they arrived at the Fubao Pavilion, the hot Su Ying hurried to greet him. She had heard from afar that Zhang Zizai was here, and she expected that he would come to the Fubao Pavilion, so she changed into a set of revealing clothes and applied a lot of perfume, which was full of temptation. Come, calculate the price. Zhang Zizai's eyes moved away from her full body on the table and placed 20 Avasai Hell talismans on it. Is this the kind of talisman that was used when defeating Yishan? Day level, Su Ying's eyes lit up instantly. Zhang Zizai nodded. I'll give you 107 grade spirit stones. It's already the highest price. Ordinary day level talismans are about 57 grade spirit stones. 200 per piece, forget it if you don't want it, Zhang Zizai said. Deal, Su Ying laughed. Zhang Zizai hated this guy for being so cunning in business. He must have been profited by her again. It seems that the next time he quotes, he must be more than 3 times higher. After selling these 20 Avasai Hell talismans, he chose to buy a lot of talisman paper and talisman ink this time. I really envy you. Just relying on this skill, you can make a lot of money, Su Ying said resentfully. Bullshit, you exploited me and sold it at a high price. Then you put my name as the son of the ancient gods, and you dared to sell it for 507th grade spirit stones. Oh, don't be so fierce to girls, Su Ying said aggrievedly. She also deliberately raised her chest and shook it in front of Zhang Zizai. After all, it is rumored that the son of the ancient gods likes this one. I heard that you are very powerful. You have a lot of love with the 9 immortal gods. Do you want to share some with your sister, Su Ying looked at him with her beautiful eyes. Silly Zhang Zizai rolled his eyes at her and left directly, leaving Su Ying still asking people what stupid means. He stayed in Bailey Tianjia for a while and bought some weapons and battle tactics for Lu Dingxing and the other four, preparing to bring them to them later. When leaving Bailey Tianjia, two old men came towards them. Both of them looked very serious. Until they saw Zhang Zizai, they did not give way to Zhang Zizai like others, but blocked the road, afraid that they would wait for Zhang Zizai to give way to them. These two people are holy servants, Xian Kang and Lin Mu. Of course, they are not in a good mood recently. Especially after Zhang Zizai became the son of the ancient gods. Zhang Zizai was too lazy to care about them, but Xian Kang didn't care much about his status. When Zhang Zizai walked by sideways, he suddenly said, "It's less than 8 months before the day of offering sacrifices to the gods, Lin Mu, you will see the cursor die tragically soon." Everyone is happy. This is obviously intended to anger Zhang Zizai. Lin Mu lost his son again recently, and everyone knows that he is in a gloomy mood. 8 months is too long. People cursed by the ancient gods should not live so long. But it's not bad to let her experience the 8-month death process, Lin Mu said. The two smiled. Behind them, there were a few disciples who were a little older, probably in their 20s. They were all disciples of the two of them, and they laughed with them at this time. "Isn't this the son of the ancient gods? You actually came to Bailey Tianjia in person? With your noble status, you should stay out of the spotlight." Xian Kang pretended to see Zhang Zizai at this time and made way for Zhang Zizai. The 5 palace masters would definitely not deal with such gossip, and Zhang Zizai could not beat the holy servant. They deliberately spoke coldly like this, and Zhang Zizai had no solution. He glanced at them coldly and prepared to leave. After taking 2 steps, Lin Mu said, "Maybe he wants to find medicine to prolong his life. Unfortunately, the punishment of the ancient god cannot be cured by medicine. I think it's useless. It's better to appreciate the power of the ancient god's curse." They didn't target Zhang Zizai directly, so Zhang Zizai couldn't use his identity to make trouble. Just like when he was a sacrificial disciple, he still humiliated Xian Kang. As long as the curse is not removed, they will always sneer and ridicule because they hate. Zhang Zizai turned around and said to Lin Mu, "I haven't seen how the spellcaster died, but I saw clearly that Lin Hanyu was eaten bit by the water ghost. If I had been smarter at the time, I should have recorded it with a video talisman and let you, Lin Mu, watch it day and night to feel the process of the water ghost eating flesh and blood." That scene was quite exciting. I still remember Lin Hanyu's screams vividly. I wonder what you felt when you saw it at that time. The matter of the 9 immortals is now Zhang Zizai's Achilles heel. After the totem evolved, he has become more ferocious. How could he swallow his anger in the face of oppression? And you, Xian Kang, if you don't want to be without descendants, you'd better not provoke me. Otherwise, Xian Ye, Xian Yi, Xian Kong and others will all die in my hands in a few years. How can I see you protect them? How many years do you have left to live? Do you have a brain to go against me? Zhang Zizai is now the son of the ancient gods. Everyone knows that Xianyin Chushen cultivates him as the future leader. Xian Kang offends him so wantonly now. When he dies of old age, how can his descendants survive in the god sect? Before Zhang Zizai said this, they really didn't think about it, they just knew how to vent their anger. Little did they know that the 9 immortals could hate Zhang Zizai, but they couldn't humiliate him. This made Xian Kang speechless. He had already considered Zhang Zizai's future. However, there are still people who are blind. Behind Lin Mu, a young man angrily said, "How can you, the son of the ancient gods, threaten people's descendants? How can you be worthy of the title of the son of the ancient gods? No wonder you are mixed up with dirty spellcasters, living in disgrace every day, bringing shame to our divine sect." Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 395. Shut up. Xiankang and Lin Mu shouted at the same time. The young man spoke without thinking, and was completely angry at what Zhang Zizai said just now, or he didn't realize the significance of Zhang Zizai's current identity. There are some things that Xiankang and others can say, but this young man may not be able to say. He couldn't figure it out, so when the two holy servants asked him to shut up, he was still a little stunned. Holy servant, he is really shameless, isn't it all said? The young man said in astonishment. Zhang Zizai narrowed his eyes and asked, "What's your name?" "I won't change my name is Lu Huai. If the ancient god's son thinks there is something wrong with what I said, you can complain to the palace master," and the first god Lu Huai said very toughly. Their dispute has long attracted many onlookers. "Come out." Zhang Zizai hooked his finger at him. Lu Huai asked Xiankang and Lin Mu for consent, but he didn't expect that the two holy servants were now standing with their hands behind their backs and not saying a word. Lu Huai was speechless, thinking, why are the two holy servants so afraid of him? I just spoke for them. Although Zhang Zizai is the son of the ancient gods, he is young after all. Even if he scolds him a few times, what can he do? Go to the Lord of the Beast God Palace or the first god to punish me. How is it possible? He felt that people above the palace lord would definitely not have the time to spare. He just said some unpleasant rumors in front of Zhang Zizai. The two holy servants did not respond, so he plucked up his courage, walked out, and said, "What do you want? Do you want to challenge me? I am 5 or 6 years older than you, and I don't want people to think that I, Lu Huai, bully the weak." He is a figure in the Moon Beast God Tower. If he is over 18 years old, he is a mid-level priest. He is now 23 years old and occupies a position in the Moon Beast God Tower. He is considered a relatively famous figure. No matter how powerful Zhang Zizai is, he is still a junior priest. He has not yet reached his 17th birthday. Considering he is 16 years old, the other party has practiced at least 7 years more than him. What was shocking was that Zhang Zizai suddenly attacked before Lu Huai finished speaking. Lu Huai possessed a wild-level totem called the Poisonous Thorn Demonic Sephora Totem, which was a very difficult totem. Zhang Zizai actually fought with Lu Huai. Xiankang and Lin Mu both understood each other's intentions. Of course, they were too lazy to stop him and just regarded it as a conflict between the younger generation. Anyway, Zhang Zizai seemed to have no benefit no matter whether he won or lost. If he lost, it would be embarrassing. If he won, he would be said to have a violent temper and suppress others at the slightest disagreement. If his reputation was bad, it would be hard to see how long he could be the son of the ancient gods. Anyway, as long as Zhang Zizai was the son of the ancient gods, it would be difficult for the two of them to deal with him. Boom! The power of Zhang Zizai's devouring heaven demon dragon totem was instantly revealed. Lu Huai was completely controlled by it. Lu Huai is at the second level of the Divine Seal realm, and is ranked over 80 in the Moon Beast God Tower. He is at least 6 years older than Zhang Zizai. The ancient god's son should still be at the Saint Body realm. I wonder if he has made a breakthrough recently. It's definitely not that fast. He's too proud. Who does he think he is when he fights directly with the second level of the Divine Seal realm at this time? Lu Huai's poisonous thorns are very difficult to deal with. Amidst everyone's attention, Lu Huai condensed his true energy and turned into vines that were very similar to Ruo Xiaoyu's flower thorns, but they were densely packed and more numerous. There were thousands of poisonous thorn vines under his control. Ancient God's son, don't cry if you lose, Lu Huai laughed loudly. This was a good opportunity for him to become famous. Countless poisonous thorns enveloped Zhang Zizai. What greeted him was Zhang Zizai's violent and direct power. His magic eye instantly turned into the Nine Palaces heavenly sword technique, and the Nine Palaces sword formation enveloped and swept, instantly tearing apart a large number of poisonous thorn vines. The surging sword energy swept towards Lu Huai. Lu Huai was shocked. He clearly felt the power of Zhang Zizai's totem divine seal, which was a power beyond the holy body. Unexpectedly, he actually reached the divine seal realm. After all, he was at a higher realm. After calming down, his fighting spirit was also surging. He said angrily, "Even if you defeat me, what can you do? You behave badly, are cruel and violent. How many people can recognize you?" In response to him, Zhang Zizai suddenly intensified his attack, and the 9 palace sword formation covered his head. Lu Huai was about to resist, but suddenly found himself powerless. He didn't expect that in such a short time, his true energy had leaked so much. Until this time, he probably remembered that his totem was 2 levels lower than Zhang Zizai's. Puff! In an instant, the sword energy penetrated through, and Lu Huai's throat was cold. He looked down and saw that he had been pierced. He was so powerful that he couldn't resist at all. You dare to kill me," he wanted to say these words, but all of them slipped out of his throat. The world was spinning, Zhang Zizai's eyes were cold and indifferent, and then everything was over. People saw that Zhang Zizai only used one move, and Lu Huai's body fell to the ground, motionless. He put away his magic eye, looked around, and said, "If you are not confident that I can't kill you, you should be careful about your words when talking to me in the future, otherwise, he will end up like this." At that moment, almost half of the Bailey Tian Street was silent. People looked at him dully, and they didn't expect that he would kill people like this. The rules of the divine sect definitely do not allow killing in public, but he is not even the son of God. Even if he is the son of God, the palace master can discipline him, but he is the son of the ancient God, and only the first God can discipline him. However, the first God obviously will not care about such things. So, even if he killed someone, no one knew what to do with Zhang Zizai at this time. After all, even Lu Huai's holy servant Lin Mu didn't react at all. He just packed up Lu Huai's body, then looked at Zhang Zizai and said, "The ancient God is really powerful. Everyone should be careful when speaking in the future. Don't offend the ancient God, otherwise your life will be lost." People were silent. There is no need to sow discord. Everyone knows what my reverse scale is. Talk nicely and get along well. We are all friends. But if you are mean, don't blame me for sending you to the west. Zhang Zizai smiled faintly. But people are still silent. Zhang Zizai knew that it was the end of Juxian that made him feel irritable. This is because he cares about this matter. He doesn't care about his irritability at all, and he doesn't care what others think of him. Now, he just wants Juxian to survive. Gods stand in the way and gods stand in the way. If someone likes to ridicule, laugh, and insult, if he is stronger than Zhang Zizai can't do much, but if he is weaker than him, he doesn't mind sending him to the west. What is the purpose of cultivation? Nothing else. Only, to settle scores. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 396. On the first day of February, Zhang Zizai entered the first god realm for the second time and demonstrated the eternal divine fist to Xuanhuan first god. Because he had been accumulating for a period of time, the power he exerted this time was extremely great. Of course, Xuanhuan first god, who was attacked by him, did not move at all, and even his hair did not flutter. "It's okay, consolidate your realm and figure out the second divine seal." She said this and disappeared in the white mist, leaving Zhang Zizai to practice on his own. He passed her test and had the capital to stay. At this point, I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network rightward arrow. The practice of the Divine Seal realm is not as easy as Zhang Zizhe imagined. It is unlikely to break through as fast as the Saint Body realm and the Mysterious Veins realm. When you reach a high stage of cultivation, the more you want to move forward, the more difficult it is. Many people in the Saint Body realm need several years to advance one level, and I am already very fast. It takes a lot of processes to condense a divine seal. Even if Zhang Zizhe is cultivating in the first God realm, he has to follow the complicated steps step by step. For the top geniuses in the origin continent, it is quite good to condense a divine seal in half a year. Zhang Zizhe estimated based on the current progress. With the cultivation capital of the first God realm, he should be able to break through to the second level of the divine seal realm in March. It's just that recently, he suddenly felt that cultivation was meaningless. Because if he couldn't stop that day from coming, what use would he have if he was so powerful? He fell into a vicious circle similar to Princess Lingxian. So when he came back from the first God realm, Juxian seemed to see that he was not interested, so he suddenly said, "Let's go out and play." Where to go? Zhang Zizhe thought he was talking about the Sky Island. Origin continent, wherever Sky Island moves to, we will go there, we just need to follow, travel around, and see the world, she said with a smile. Okay, Zhang Zizhe agreed without thinking. Moreover, he only left a note on the top floor of the Beast God Tower, and left with Juxian without telling anyone, and went down through the Gate of Origin. In the past year or so, except for the time on the battlefield of Wushan, he has not really left. They landed from the sky on the Baiyuepan tamed by the Shenzong. Baiyuepan is a very obedient source beast. It will follow around. When it is needed, just blow a special whistle. Coming down from the Shenzong, where the rules are strict and everyone looks at them strangely, to the endless world of the origin continent, the two of them completely let go of their minds. They landed in a brilliant sea of flowers, with colorful flowers extending to the end of the horizon, and the rich fragrance of flowers sweeping the world. Although the spiritual energy of heaven and earth here is not so rich, it is more beautiful here. The origin continent is vast and boundless, with countless beautiful scenery, but the divine sect is like a cage. Zhang Zizhe couldn't help but sigh. Although it is the core of the world, when I left there, I found that the world is so magnificent and the scenery is so unparalleled. My mood suddenly became better. After all, in this endless world, no one would mention the three words divine spellcaster. Come on, catch me and I'll give you a reward. Juxian let herself go and started running. Dare to underestimate me, Zhang Zizhe showed his body skills and chased him like a lightning storm. Juxian dared to tease him. She was originally at a high level and fast, but she still stopped occasionally to tease him, letting Zhang Zizhe pounce on her. When he was about to pounce on her delicate body, he fell flat on his face. Little lady, don't run. Ha ha. Laughter and joy echoed in this vast land. Zhang Zizhe's eyes were full of her smile. In fact, she is really a very pure girl, without too many pursuits, just love beauty, like to live leisurely and comfortable. She can run really well. Zhang Zizhe was exhausted and panting, and finally she let go and was thrown down by Zhang Zizhe. Juxian was pressed under him, pretending to panic and said, "You stinky hooligan, what do you want to do?" Of course it's a bad thing. Zhang Zizhe smiled evilly, tore her dress, and performed a primitive movement in this primitive sea of flowers. Help, indecent assault. They played and lingered all the way, and saw too many beautiful scenery. In mid-February, a vast ice lake appeared in front of them. The water of the lake was extremely clear, and countless ice floated on it. Looking around, countless ice cubes floated in the sea water, which can be said to be the most beautiful scenery in the world. Juxian was obsessed with this place as soon as she saw it. They chased and lingered in the ice lake like mandarin ducks. This is an uninhabited area. Except for the source beast, there are only the two of them, and no one disturbs them. Occasionally, a source beast appeared, but was also scared away by them, or they were allowed to play for a while. The most exaggerated one was riding a whale on the ice lake, riding the wind and waves. At night, he practiced the eternal god fist on the ice lake, and she practiced the rebirth art next to him. They stayed on this pure ice lake for about 7 days and 7 nights. By the end of February, Zhang Zizai tried to condense the second divine seal on this ice lake. The ninefold order of the 9 heavens divine beast candle dragon secret art can be freely adjusted. In this frozen world, there are very good external conditions, so Zhang Zizai decided to condense the snake neck first. The dragon has a snake-like neck. The snake is ice. That night, the sky was freezing cold, countless cold air gathered towards Zhang Zizai, the glacier melted into ice water, countless blue smoke gathered around him, and formed countless ice dew. Juxian lay on the ice, supporting her chin with her white arms, staring at Zhang Zizai with her eyes, and the smile on her face became the most beautiful picture in this world. At this time, she was like a mermaid. Zhang Zizai was confident that he could break through to the second level of the Divine Seal realm. The environment here in the ice lake has innate advantages. Countless ice gathered in the Totem Sea. Above the Totem Sea, below the side of the flame antlers, the second level of the Divine Seal, the ice snake neck, was formed. The snake god seal gradually took shape. The last time I practiced in the Xuanhuan, I had made a lot of progress. It was natural for me to break through to the second level of the Divine Seal realm in this ice lake. At night, the cold air was even stronger, and it was the right time for the right time, right place, and right people. Before the sun rose in the daytime, Zhang Zizai had completed the condensation of the second Divine Seal, the Snake Divine Seal, and the power of the Totem Divine Seal soared again. His 2 Divine Seals were separated, which was completely different from others. Others had layers of onion-like Totem Divine Seals. Which one was more powerful? When they reached the second level of the Divine Seal realm, there would definitely be a difference that could be shown. The location they were heading to was not too far from the flight route of Sky Island. Zhang Zizai didn't want to go back. On the first day of every month, he could just go to Sky Island to complete the task. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 397. On the first day of March, Xuanhuan Chushan saw that he had reached the second level of the Divine Seal realm and looked quite satisfied. She did not ask about Zhang Zizai's departure from the Origin Divine section. After checking his progress, she disappeared. When the time came, Zhang Zizai left naturally. Juxian was still at the gate of Origin and did not come in. They left the Origin Divine sect again and continued their life of traveling and practicing. After a month of leisure, it was completely meaningless to go back to the cold and serious place of the Divine sect. Zhang Zizai did not want to go back. This time, Sky Island entered a small country called Western Republic. The customs and popularity here are completely different from those of the Yanlong dynasty. There are not many strong people. They like colorful clothes and like to string some jewelry necklaces on their noses. They are extremely good at songs and dances, and they also love life very much. Every night, the people here light a bonfire, sing and dance around the bonfire, and their lives are full of fun. Although most of the boys and girls are not totem warriors, they are full and active and carefree. Their optimism is highly contagious. After Juxian came here, she wandered in towns and was reluctant to leave. Because she was so beautiful, she would be treated as a goddess no matter where she went. At the bonfire party, countless young men invited her to dance, but in the end, she still held Zhang Zizai's hand and joined the hot dance. Zhang Zizai was stiff all over, and had to be guided by Juxian's soft body like a water snake to join this warm range. Seeing her face always filled with a smile from the heart, Zhang Zizai's heart was also much warmer. When he hugged her and kissed her in the passion, the people of the Western Republic cheered. Perhaps only Zhang Zizai saw that under the outer layer of black long hair, She was actually full of white hair. She began to get tired easily, her eyes began to dim, and the first wrinkles began to appear on her cheeks. The ravages of time are a nightmare that no one can avoid. Zhang Zizai can't avoid middle age, then old age, and death. But what is unfair to Juxian is that she is far from the age of gray hair. The divine spell has expanded a lot on her chest, and the bloody skull pattern has expanded twice, and the color has become deeper. In fact, gray hair can't affect her beauty. But time, this ferocious beast, will continue to tear her body apart. Is the rebirth art useful? Zhang Zizai had doubts for the first time. Putting hope on the rebirth art is to seek death. But, apart from the rebirth art, the whole world does not have the power to resist God. She seemed to have forgotten to look in the mirror. But Zhang Zizai could see her daily changes clearly. Every increase of white hair, every increase of wrinkles. But seeing that she was so happy and immersed in joy every day, Zhang Zizai put all the struggles in his heart. At the end of March, her long hair had turned snow white. There was not a single black hair. Zhang Zizai had stopped lingering with her because she didn't have much strength. The strength of the divine seal realm was also gradually fading. On this day, her divine seal actually dissipated one level. Although the strength was not greatly affected, it was just a precursor, and it would definitely dissipate more in the future. What Feng Xiaoao had experienced before was nothing to this. She was not only declining in strength, but also rapidly aging, shortening the process of others for 70 or 80 years to 7 or 8 months. That day, they stood on a snowy mountain, with heavy snow and ice. On the edge of the cliff, countless snowflakes fell into the abyss in front of them. She stood on the edge of the cliff, and from behind, she was already a snowman. Zhang Zizai gently protected her from behind, and she leaned her head on Zhang Zizai's shoulder. Xiao Baike, Jua is not good looking, can we still hold her, she murmured. Don't talk nonsense. Zhang Zizai gently pinched her cheek. It was not as tight as before. In fact, these 2 months are the happiest time of my life in more than 50 years. You don't know, I completely let myself forget that I am a dying person, and enjoy the fun of the world to my heart's content. It's wonderful. She smiled, even though she was old, she still smiled so beautifully. Zhang Zizai hugged her tighter, and her white hair and black hair rubbed together, and the hair was intertwined, which was particularly beautiful in the wind and snow. Honestly, am I ugly now? Juxian asked with pursed lips. Nonsense, you are the most beautiful old lady I have ever seen. You actually said I am an old lady, annoying. Juxian was annoyed and pinched his arm. She turned around, and Zhang Zizai hugged her in his arms. She was indeed not as beautiful as before, but the love in Zhang Zizai's eyes had never diminished. How about I jump down from here? Beauty fades easily, I don't want to be ugly in front of you anymore. She lowered her head and said with a smile. No matter what she said, she smiled, as if she was talking about trivial things. Then let's go together. I also want to see what beautiful scenery is under this cliff. Under the cliff, there is only death. I'm kidding, I don't want to give up. I've been practicing the rebirth technique recently, and it seems to have achieved some results. I'm going to start prolonging my life. She laughed. Judging from your appearance, you are older than my mother now. Asshole, I'm going to tear your mouth. While playing, she suddenly retched. What's wrong? Zhang Zizai asked. She looked blank for a moment, shook her head and said, of course it's this damn curse, damn it, I don't know which god I offended. If I find out, I'll have to cut off his head and use it as a chamber pot for you. She stood up and pointed her middle finger at the sky. You, ancient god, your ancestors for 18 generations. It's really tough, scolding so rudely. But Zhang Zizai also wanted to scold. It's the end of the month again. In 2 days, it will be the first day of April, and Zhang Zizai has to go to the first god realm. In fact, he didn't want to go that much. He just wanted to travel with her in this mortal world and travel through the prosperity of the world. It's not too long to delay for 3 days. Xuanhuan was still waiting for him at the gate of origin. Zhang Zizai entered the first god realm. He had not made much progress this month. Xuanhuan first god checked and asked, I heard that you and Xuanhuan have been in the origin continent for some time. Zhang Zizai nodded. It delayed my cultivation. The progress is slower than I expected. Make appropriate adjustments. Zhang Zizai did not answer. He concentrated on cultivation for these 3 days. When the time was up, he left the first god realm. Xuanhuan disappeared. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 398. She did not wait for Zhang Zizai at the agreed place. She left without saying goodbye. Zhang Zizai might have expected something, but he did not expect that she would really do this. Don't want to continue to age in front of me, want to find a place and leave quietly. Zhang Zizai did not blame her, he could only smile bitterly. He naturally did not give up, maybe she was still in the divine section, so he returned to the divine sect and looked for her everywhere. Many people saw that the ancient son of God hurried by with a hurried look. It seemed that he was trying his best to restrain himself, but it could still be seen that there was a cold murderous intent in his eyes. Considering that he killed Lu Huai on the spot last time, basically no one dared to approach him. Everyone knew that the divine curse master had not much time left, and Zhang Zizai during this period must be the one who should not be provoked. But there were naturally many people who secretly cursed him for what he deserved. People's hearts are inherently indifferent, and it is not easy to be high above without being slandered. He searched all corners of the divine sect within 1 day. He forced his way into any place, whether it was accessible or not. Xuanhuan and Ling Qingtian searched with him. The final conclusion was that she was unlikely to still be in the divine sect. If she went to the origin continent to avoid Zhang Zizai, then Zhang Zizai would not be able to find her again. Because the origin continent is too big and vast, where is the end? It is not much different from a needle falling into the sea. She insisted on leaving, and she can't be found. You should understand her best. Ling Qingtian patted her shoulder. Don't worry. Zhang Zizai knew that they were worried that they would fall into an uncomfortable vortex. He was unexpectedly calm. Ling Qingtian was relieved to see that he was not hysterical. In fact, he didn't know how to comfort him at all, so he could only sigh. In fact, he had known that this day would come. What is the effect of the Rebirth Sutra? Xuanhuan asked in a deep voice. It didn't work some time ago. A few days ago, she said she had just mastered some tricks. Zhang Zizai said. That means she wants to find a quiet place to fight against fate, Ling Qingtian said. Why did she leave without saying goodbye? Xuanhuan asked back. Maybe, she feels more determined this way. Ling Qingtian's voice gradually weakened, because he couldn't figure out these things. Don't worry about me, I'll go for a walk by myself. Zhang Zizai said, and then left them. He returned to the top floor of the Beast God Tower and lay on his back on the big bed. 2 months had passed, and the bed still had her fragrance. Suddenly someone knocked on the door. Zhang Zizai jumped up and rushed to the door in an instant. After opening the door, his eyes dimmed for a moment. Feng Xiaoxiao stood at the door, looking at him with worry, and whispered, I heard. Before she finished speaking, Zhang Zizai closed the door and stopped her outside. He knew that Feng Xiaoxiao stood there for an hour before leaving, but he was too lazy to care. He stared at the scorching sun in the sky in a daze. Do gods really exist in heaven, giving totems to all living beings and saving people from suffering? Ask anyone, even if they are not totem warriors, they will tell Zhang Zizai that this is certain. So, why curse a mortal? As a god, all living beings are so insignificant, why target one person? There is no answer to this question. but Zhang Zizai's heart is filled with manic anger and depression. He wants to kill people, he can't control himself, but he doesn't know who to kill. Why, don't you even say goodbye? Do you want to fight alone, or do you want to go away alone and die quietly? The laughter and joy of those 2 months, all her unparalleled beauty, are still vivid in my mind. In these 2 months, she left herself with the most smiles. It's as if Zhang Zizai is the one who is about to die. But Zhang Zizai doesn't think that the person who cursed the ancient god with him will be the one who escapes alone. She said she would wait for him to come out. How could she leave without saying goodbye? If they could never see each other again in this life, she knew better than anyone what kind of trauma this would cause to Zhang Zizai. He would rather die together than endure her lonely departure. Zhang Zizai stood up suddenly. Perhaps it was a mysterious connection. He suddenly determined that maybe she was in the divine sect. She definitely hadn't left. In the dead of night, Zhang Zizai left the Beast God Tower. He first went to their house in Xiaoao Palace, took away the clothes she still left there, and then walked on the Sky Island according to his vague intuition. Later he was surprised to find that it was a real connection from his black dragon totem. Perhaps the two totems had had too much contact, so Zhang Zizai felt her presence. It was as if there was a little white fox between heaven and earth, in a corner, alone and helpless. On the totem, Zhang Zizai had always been her support, and she also relied on Zhang Zizai's totem to speed up her cultivation. Just like a tyrannical black dragon coiled in a circle, protecting the little white fox in the center. The feeling became stronger and stronger, and before he knew it, he had come to a familiar place. Chushen territory. Why is she in Chushen territory? Zhang Zizai's eyes were cold. He had just arrived outside Chushen territory, but before he entered, he saw the 5 palace masters appearing here. They entered before Zhang Zizai. It seems that they were not so neat when they came to the first god realm before. This chapter is not over yet, please click the next page to continue reading. Zhang Zizai just came here, and they entered it. They looked a little solemn, as if something big was going to happen. This made Zhang Zizai a little confused. Why do I feel that Zhu'er will be inside? Why are they so neat and go in with strange looks? If you stay outside, you may never know the answer. I have been in for 3 days this month. If I go in now, it will definitely be against the rules. Although he thought so, he had already walked to the door of the first god realm. Regardless of whether it was against the rules or not, when he had an increasingly direct and strong intuition and felt that Juxian was inside, he didn't think at all, and he stepped in directly. The first god realm did not have direct restrictions, so he entered relatively smoothly. There was white fog in front of him. After entering, the induction between the two totems became stronger and stronger. In the past, Zhang Zizai didn't notice that there would be such induction between their totems. Or in other words, it didn't exist before. No one knows how passionate his heart is hidden under his calm appearance. He quickened his pace and walked towards the Xuanhuan temple step by step. He knew that the 9 immortals were in the Xuanhuan temple. What he wanted to know now was, what on earth were they going to do by bringing the 9 immortals here? When he approached the Xuanhuan temple and had not yet entered, 6 people appeared at the door. Xuanhuan Chushan stood in front of him, and behind him were 5 palace masters. The 5 palace masters had different facial expressions. Among them, the palace master of the beast god lowered his head, and seemed reluctant to look at Zhang Zizai. The palace masters of the heavenly god and the spirit god had a faint smile on their faces. The palace masters of the wood god and the sword god had no expression on their faces. Xuanhuan Chushan stretched out a hand to block Zhang Zizai's way, and said lightly, "You have violated the rules by coming in twice a month and you will be punished. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 399. Zhang Zizai narrowed his eyes. In fact, he had always respected the Xuanhuan primordial god. He felt that although she was strict, she was very nurturing to him. But at this moment, her condescending look made Zhang Zizai feel rebellious for the first time. He raised his head and said, "It's okay to be punished. But why should she be trapped inside? Who told you that she was inside?" Xuanhuan Chushan's gaze almost penetrated his body. She was actually a little surprised. But it was because of his surprise that he was exposed. Because Zhang Zizai didn't say who she was. Her direct response clearly meant that the 9 immortals were inside. "I don't need anyone to tell me, I know it. First God, why did you imprison her?" Zhang Zizai spoke decisively and without any hesitation, indicating that he was extremely sure that the 9 immortals were inside. "This is for your sake and for the sake of the other disciples of the Shen section." Xianyin Chu Shen did not hide anything, but said simply. "What's the reason?" Zhang Zizai asked. "It's already April, and there are less than 5 months left. The next time will be when the divine curse breaks out. Her body carries the power of the divine curse at any time. This is a kind of divine punishment. Everyone who is close to her will be harmed, and even inherit the divine curse. If I don't keep her here, you and she are so close, you will definitely be greatly affected, and even every time the power of the divine curse breaks out, it will be affected. People around." She spoke very formally and her words were so conclusive that it was difficult to doubt. "I haven't heard of it, and I've also looked up the matter of the god cursor." Zhang Zizai shook his head. He really hadn't heard that her last few months of aging would have an impact on the people around her. This is normal. There are not many records about divine cursors nowadays. It's not surprising that you don't know. Zhang Zizai, it will be of great benefit to her if I let her stay here. The aura of heaven and earth in the first god realm will be of great benefit to her. There are also benefits to practicing the rebirth technique. If you really wish her well and want her to live longer, you shouldn't disturb her." What she said made sense, but Zhang Zizai's intuition still felt that something was not quite right. If it was as she said, why did the 5 palace chiefs come in so neatly today? He didn't ask this question because he knew that the other party would definitely find other reasons. He just said, "That's fine, but I want to see her." "No, you have violated the rules and must leave immediately. At the same time, you will be deprived of the right to come in on May 1st as punishment. I will make an exception and give her a chance, but it does not mean that you can break the rules. If you really want to see her, on June 1st Japan, I can let you see me." Xuanhuan Chushan's words were very cold. She acted businesslike and had absolutely no room for maneuver. "Zhang Zizai, as the son of the ancient god, you should know how to obey my orders. If you are ignorant, you will only harm her. For your sake, I gave her this chance, and at the same time, in order to prevent her from affecting you. After all, I have finally chosen the son of the ancient god, and I promised you that I will train you well." Can she believe it? Her reasons were very good, but maybe Zhang Zizai had preconceived ideas. He always felt that something was wrong. The attitude of Xuanhuan Prime God and the 5 palace masters at this time made him very uncomfortable. But the key point is that they are the most powerful people in the entire origin continent. Each of them can easily crush Zhang Zizai. Even if Zhang Zizai doesn't listen to them, what use can he do? This is not a level contest. You still have no sign of the 3rd level of the Divine Seal realm. Last time I heard that you killed people randomly, you should reflect on it. On the 1st day of June, if you cannot reach the 3rd level of the Divine Seal realm, I will deprive you of your identity as the son of the ancient god. It would be easier for Yishan to at least be obedient than to train you." Her eyes were cold and her words were indeed merciless. When she said this, she didn't even give Zhang Ziyu a chance to speak. She just waved her hand and threw him away. When Zhang Ziyu stabilized himself in the storm, he was already outside the first god realm. Bang! Zhang Ziyu punched a tree directly in front of him. Calm. He took a long breath and suppressed the volcanic lava-like anger all over his body. He is no longer a child. The bigger things happen to him, the more he tells himself to calm down. What happened today is a bit strange. He must calm down and suppress the hothead and the anger all over his body. Only then can he figure it out. She was trapped inside quietly so as not to affect me. However, you can clearly discuss this matter with me, so why do you do it secretly? You didn't want me to find out, but you didn't expect me to find out. That's why you confessed. She didn't like me and Zhu being together from the beginning. It's normal for her to intervene, but she gave her the secret of rebirth. Things like these made Zhang Ziyi a little confused. He thought for a moment and decided not to worry now. If they really had any bad intentions, Zhang Ziyi would have no chance at all. After all, who were they? The key is, what did he and the 9 Immortals have to plan for? If they really need it, they can just do it directly. Why bother with so much mystery? This is what Zhang Ziyi can't figure out. At this time, one more person can sort things out more clearly. Zhang Ziyi did not look for Ling Qingtian, but went directly to Jushan. If this matter was troublesome, and Ling Qingtian was involved, it would harm him. But Jushan was her elder brother. He was not afraid of death many years ago, let alone now. After finding Jushan, Zhang Ziyi told him everything that happened. Jushan narrowed his eyes and said, Jushan and the 5 palace masters, there is no way they can set up any conspiracy against you two. What use can you have to her? This is part of Zhang Ziyi's thoughts. You have read a lot of information. Does it say that the divine spell will affect the people around you? Zhu Shen thought for a while and said, most of them are not recorded, but there are 1 or 2 cases that seem to be mentioned in passing. It is not particularly clear that there is an impact. What do you think? Zhu Shen thought for a while and said, go ask the palace master if I can go in to accompany her. I am not afraid of death. I don't have your future. I can enter Chushan domain without practicing. Zhang Ziyi felt that it was unlikely that Chushan would agree to let him go in. After all, Chushan still needed an identity to enter, and it was impossible to make an exception casually. However, if I keep getting entangled in this matter and neglect my cultivation, and if they really have good intentions towards the 9 Immortals, it seems possible. Today, a total of 11 chapters have been updated. All updated. Thank you for your support, keep up the good work. Holy Dragon Totem. Author, Fengqing Yang. Chapter 400. The next day, Zhang Ziyi and the 9 gods came to the temple of the beast god. The master of the beast god palace may still be in the first god realm, but he always comes back here. In the afternoon of that day, the master of the beast god palace came back. When he saw Zhang Ziyi and Zhu Shen, he was not too surprised and walked up with a calm face. Are you looking for me because of the 9 Immortals matter? The beast god palace master asked. Zhang Ziyi nodded. The palace master of the beast god shook his head and smiled bitterly, and said, Zhang Ziyi, you have misunderstood the first god. To be honest, the first god has really tried his best for you this time. Not only did he try his best to train you, but he also took the risk of offending the ancient god. I think you still have doubts about giving Zhu Xian a chance to survive. Zhu Shen said, Palace Master, in fact, you can discuss this matter with us. If you bring my sister in privately and keep us in the dark, we will not rest assured. The master of the beast god palace said, this is Zhu Shen's decision. She probably wants Zhang Ziyi to focus on cultivation in the future. It's not like you haven't heard of Zhu Shen's character. She has always been resolute, and she has never, no matter what others think, although she is strict, she actually cares about Zhang Ziyi in her heart, but she doesn't want to express it? Then she doesn't know Zhang Zizai very well. My sister disappeared for no reason, and it's even less possible for him to concentrate on his cultivation, Zhu Shen said. 9 gods, you should still be grateful. The first god made such a decision after some hesitation. If she changes her mind and sends the 9 immortals out, she will have no hope at all. Now inside, she is personally guiding the 9 immortals to practice. If Zhang Zizai doesn't enter the first god realm without permission, he will know it when he goes in on the first day of May. The master of the beast god palace had helped Zhang Zizai a lot in the past, but now he was so sincere, it sounded like Zhang Zizai and the others were worrying too much. Because I couldn't understand why such a high-ranking figure as the sect master and the 5 palace masters would not go to such great lengths to deal with them. There was no need to deceive Zhang Zizai. Wouldn't it be enough to just imprison and control them directly? Okay, palace master, please help me, ask the sect master. I want to go in and accompany my sister. Firstly, it is so that Zhang Zizai can practice with peace of mind. Secondly, it can also provide some help and comfort to my sister. Thirdly, I am here, I am not afraid of the influence of any divine curse. In order to avoid saying that I entered the first god realm just for the sake of mixed cultivation, I don't need to practice at all. Zhu Shen's tone was decisive, especially when talking about his miserable life, which showed his courage. Zhang Zizai actually knew very little about him. He only knew that when the 9 immortals were unfairly treated, he was the one who killed almost everyone. Let me ask the sect master, but don't expect too much. The sect master has already made an exception by letting 9 immortals in. To be honest, it's quite troublesome for her to do something good. The master of the beast god palace asked them to go back and wait for news. Naturally, he had a way to communicate with the sect leader without entering the first god realm. Zhang Zizai and Zhu Shen were waiting at the beast god tower. During this period, Feng Xiaoao came once. After asking about the specific matter, he thought, for a person like the sect master, he wants to help the 9 immortals, it must be because you are the son of the ancient god. No matter how you think about it, it seems that there is nothing in you that is worth the trouble. It shouldn't be a big problem. What he needs most now is to take care of his wife and daughter. Zhang Zizai naturally doesn't want to ruin his family happiness, so he doesn't let him continue to get involved. 3 days later, the master of the beast god palace arrived. He said with a smile, Zhang Zizai, you are so proud. The first god agreed to let the 9 gods in. I didn't expect that she values you so much. I told you earlier, the first god she is famous for being a sharp-tongued person and seems to be strict with you, but this is the first time I have seen her be so tolerant to a young person in so many years. She actually agreed to let Zhu Shen go in to accompany his sister? It's a bit incredible. The master of the beast god palace solemnly said to the 9 gods, I still have to make it clear to you. If you insist on staying with her, the divine curse will break out again and again, which is likely to damage your cultivation, and may even be transferred to you. Are you really willing to lose your life within a few years? Let's go. Zhu Shen didn't even think about it. After Zhu Shen said goodbye to him and reassured him, Zhang Zizai watched them leave. Zhang Zizai, don't be anxious. When you come in on the first day of June, you might be able to see that she has successfully used the rebirth technique to resist the divine curse and extend her life, the master of the beast god palace said. Zhu Shen's eyes were also affirmative. The strength of the 9 gods was insignificant to the 6 of them. Zhang Zizai knew better that he was even more insignificant. If he thought about it carefully, why did the 6 of them, such big shots, need to go to such great lengths to deceive him? Sure enough, I was overthinking it. It sounds ridiculous for an ant to suspect that 6 lions are setting up a conspiracy against him. Why bother with lions when they can crush a group of things to death with just one kick? The mission given to you by the sect master is that on the first day of June, you must practice to the third level of the Divine Seal realm, otherwise, she will be very disappointed with you. The 9 Immortals are in the first God realm and are trying to use the secret of rebirth to fight against fate. The sect master is also helping her. Don't let her down. Be more mature, Zhang Zizai. The words of the Beast God Palace Master kept echoing in his ears. The top floor of the Beast God Tower was not big, but now it was empty. When there was no beauty around him, he found that the stars in the sky were not that beautiful, and he always felt that it had lost its charm. Is she trying? Zhang Zizai took a deep breath. There are still more than 50 days until the first day of June. I don't know how old she will be by then. Now she has white hair, like a 50-year-old person in the mortal world. Many people of this age in the mortal world have become grandmothers. This chapter is not finished yet, please click on the next page to continue reading the exciting content. The Divine Sect is a terrifying and huge machine, which has been passed down for tens of millions of years and has a strong foundation. It connects hundreds of millions of people below and the gods of the divine realm above. How can Zhang Zizai, a tiny young man, fight against it? It's just a mantis trying to stop a chariot. Under this premise, coupled with the Beast God Palace Master's earnest words, he thought for a long time and finally could only focus on cultivation. Only in this way can he feel safe. Thinking about it carefully, Xuanhuan is indeed a strict person. She doesn't even like others to think that she is a good person. If Zhang Zizai continues to rush in rashly, he may be punished more severely. He spent his time on the top floor of the Beast God Tower, practicing day after day. When the stars fell at night, he looked at the empty room and missed her, her fragrance, her panting, and the touch of her snow-white skin. Miss her laughter, her occasional little woman, her occasional eccentricity, her occasional swearing, and her occasional irritability. Miss her spending time dressing up and putting on lipstick. In fact, his cultivation effect was very poor. The closer it was to the 5th day of September, the day of worshipping the gods, the more he felt like there were tens of thousands of ants crawling. Terribly irritable. He didn't know why, even though he had already trusted Xuanhuan and Jushan had entered the Chushan domain, his mood became more and more irritable. Obviously, if he continued like this, he would not be able to reach the third level of the God Seal realm. Until now, Zhang Zizai felt that kind of powerlessness for the first time. The irritability in his heart made him unable to calm down. When he thought of Juxian's gray hair, his nails pierced into his flesh.